You've heard the name John D. Rockefeller, right? The richest man in American history. But what most people don't know is that he wrote these 38 secret letters to his son. And get this, they weren't really about money. They were about power, control, and building a legacy that would last for centuries. So, how much are we talking about? Well, in today's money, that's over $400 billion. Just try to wrap your head around that number. It's just staggering. This wasn't just being rich, this was being the most dominant force American business had ever seen. So the real question is, how? How does one guy, born into poverty, with a con artist for a father, no less, how does he build an empire like Standard Oil from literally nothing? We're talking about controlling 90% of all the oil in America. It's insane. And here's where it gets really interesting. The blueprint, the secret sauce, wasn't hidden in some dusty old bank ledger. Nope, it was all laid out in 9 core principles that he passed down in those private letters. And today, we are going to break down every single one of them. All right, so let's start at the beginning with the foundation of it all, the mindset. See, Rockefeller knew that long before you ever make your first dollar, the real battle is won or lost right up here in your own head. And his first principle is a big one. He didn't run from hardship. He ran towards it. He believed that being comfortable never ever forges greatness. Only struggle can do that. He saw it like fire, the very thing that tempers steel and builds real character. And that really forces you to ask yourself a tough question, right? That thing you're struggling with right now, that big obstacle in your way, is it breaking you, or are you using it to build yourself up? Because according to Rockefeller, that choice, it's always yours to make. Okay, on to principle number 2. Think of this one as the engine that drives everything else, just pure, relentless persistence. The idea here is that real power doesn't just come from some magical aha moment. Nah, it comes from the simple, gritty refusal to quit, ever. And look at these examples. It's just wild. Thomas Edison, we're talking 10,000 failures before he got the light bulb right. James Dyson, over 5,000 prototypes for his vacuum. Most of us, let's be honest, we give up after a few tries. But the winners? They know that failure number 11 or 5,000 could be the one that changes the whole game. Which brings us to principle number 3. You've got to love what you do or you're just gonna suffer. There's this great little story about 3 sculptors. You ask the first one what he's doing, he says he's just chipping away at a rock. It's a chore. The second one, he says he's earning a paycheck. It's a job. But the third one, he looks up and says, I'm building a cathedral. He has a calling. For Rockefeller, that was it. Your work is either a heavy burden or it's your calling, period. All right, sticking with mindset, let's jump to principle number 5. And this one is blunt. Kill your excuses. Rockefeller was absolutely ruthless about this. He pointed to what he called the 3 deadly excuses. I'm not healthy enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lucky enough. He said these aren't reasons, they're just success killers. And if you want to just completely demolish those excuses, think about this guy, Admiral Nelson, one of Britain's greatest heroes. He had 1 arm and 1 eye, and he still conquered nations. I mean, come on. It's just a powerful reminder that most of our limitations are just stories we've made up. So it really makes you look in the mirror and ask, what's my excuse? Okay, so you forged that iron mindset internally. Now what? How do you actually use it out in the real world? Well, that brings us right into part 2, winning the war of business. And this was his 6th principle, and it's a huge one. He literally said, business is war. And he meant it. He approached every single deal, every competitor, every single challenge like a general on a battlefield, planning out his entire campaign. Check this out. It's a perfect example of how his mind worked. So a rival company tries to take him down by building a brand new pipeline. Now, a normal person would fight a pipeline more, but not Rockefeller. He didn't even bother. Instead, he thought sideways. He just quietly went and bought up the railroads that the rival needed to get their stuff to the pipeline. Then, bam, he jacked up their shipping costs so high, their fancy new pipeline was completely worthless. So what's the strategy here? It's so simple, but it's absolutely brilliant. Don't fight the obvious fight. Don't go head-to-head where your enemy is strongest, where they're making all the noise. Instead, you find their quiet, hidden weakness, their Achilles heel, and you hit them there with everything you've got. And this whole war mentality carried right over into his seventh principle, master negotiation. For him, a negotiation table was a battlefield. Information was your ammo. Their emotions, that was your opening. And to win, he said you have to master 5 things. First, the environment itself. Second, your own resources. Third, their weaknesses. Fourth, your own goals. And finally, number 5, you have to master their emotions. All right, we've covered mindset, we've covered strategy. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, the money itself. Because look, building a fortune is one thing, but creating wealth that lasts for generations, that's a whole different ballgame, and it needs its own set of rules. And to really get how he managed all that cash, we actually have to jump back for a second to his 4th principle. This is kind of the philosophy behind everything. He said, money is like fire. Think about it. Fire is not good or evil, right? It's just a tool. It can warm your home, cook your food, or it can burn your house to the ground. He believed money was the exact same. You decide if it builds or if it burns. So with that idea in mind, his 8th rule for managing that fire was dead simple, the 90-10 rule. You take all your profits and you reinvest 90% of it for tomorrow. You only live on 10% for today. It's an incredibly disciplined way to get that explosive exponential growth. And this next quote really nails why that rule is so critical. He said that people fail because they spend tomorrow's wealth on today's pleasure. It's so true, right? People trade a potential empire for some little thing they want right now. And that brings us to the 9th and final principle. And honestly, this might be the most important one of them all. He said, reputation outlives riches. Money comes and goes. You can win it, you can lose it, but your name, your character, that sticks around. That's the thing that echoes through generations. And he knew your reputation isn't just about you. It's about who you surround yourself with. You know, he famously said he'd rather have 1% of the effort of 100 people than 100% of his own. And it's simple, really. A players, they multiply your wealth. B players, they just multiply your problems. One builds your empire, the other tarnishes your name. So the ultimate takeaway here is this. Protect your name above everything else. Your bank account, no matter how big, will fade away eventually. But your name, for better or for worse, that's forever. So at the end of the day, these 9 rules, they're not really just about getting rich. They're a blueprint for building something that lasts. A business, a family, a legacy. Rockefeller used them to build his empire. So the only question that really matters now is, what are you going to build with them?